idea that come to me was, I believe, obviously, again, it's my opinion, but I believe that that capitalism works because of women. Why do I say this?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
It's because most men, if you think about most men, why are you trying to get rich for? If you're trying to get rich, what's the purpose of richness? Take a woman out of the way now. If you're just making money for making money, what's the purpose of it?
Are you trying to say men make money for women?
Exactly. So capitalism works because of women. You understand the logic? Because if there's no woman, what does it matter if I have a great car? I don't care about what you think as a man. I don't care what anyone else thinks as a man. But because of my wife, because of my kids, because of my mom or whoever else as a man, as in a position of leadership, I go out there and be the best man I can be in order to provide for, or to even get, say I don't even have a wife yet, in order to get a woman, because we know that women by nature, they come with a level of, what's the word for it now? A treasure, if you want to call it. You know, like if you have your daughter or your wife, they come with a natural kind of, they're perfect as they are. You don't need them to make money. You don't need them to be a particular, what's it called, clothes wearing or size or muscular or any of that kind of stuff. It's just, as she is, you take her. Is she pretty? You like her. Is she from a particular background? Does it really matter to you? No, it doesn't. Is she from a poor background? Is she from a rich background? To a man, that doesn't necessarily matter. But to a woman, it does matter. Is he rich? Is he strong? Is he smart? Is he from a wealthy family, or is he not from a wealthy family? These kind of things women think about.
No, I think maybe not as much as
men.
But of course, because the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he say? Look at a woman that you're going to marry. Obviously, that's going to be for like looks and desires and attraction. So there's going to be a level. And also, what did he say? A woman is married for certain things. Go for deen. That's the best thing. But sometimes a person will choose for social status, lineage, beauty, even though the advice, wealth. So even men, I would say, look, you know what? Can't put the blame completely on women. I think you're trying to kind of like...
No, I'm not putting a blame. It's not a blame game. I'm saying it's a good thing in the sense that men actually are not doing it for themselves per se. It's to get something. Okay. It's to get a woman. Because if there was no women in the vicinity, we wouldn't be competing in richnesses.
But do you think that's also to do with, let's say, un-Islamic societies that we might be in? Let's say it's in a Muslim society, Muslim as an Islamic society, a person is gaining wealth. Because Sahaba were rich, some companions were very rich. What are they gaining wealth for? Is it just for worldly things, or are they actually gaining wealth because they want to use that wealth in the right way to please Allah Ta'ala?
No, it's definitely from a Western background. It's not Islamic. You have to separate that very clearly.
Capitalism it's not combined with Islam.
Yeah. I'm talking about from a capitalistic point of view.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing, we live in a capitalist world, right? From a Muslim world, we know it's a different story. Of course, a woman who's spiritually inclined and believes sincerely in Allah should understand that she's looking for a man. That's deen first.
Yeah.
Does he have wealth? Walillah alhamd, he should have some form of wealth. Because even the Prophet ﷺ said that a man should get married when he has a certain amount of wealth. It's not just get married and you're broke on your knees. You should have something to look after your wife, because you're in a position of what? Leadership and protection. How are you going to protect your wife if you don't have 2 pence to put together? It don't make sense. So I understand that. I'm just saying from a capitalistic point of view, the more I think about it, the more I realize that most men are struggling really to be rich or whatever due to either looking for a woman or to preserve a woman. It's not a self-gratification of I just want to be rich. It's to look like they're rich to gain more women.
So a question I would ask you is one would be, is it due to a reason of I'm talking about now from the Muslim community perspective, or Muslims who might be men and women, might be into certain, or get involved in certain things, or even capitalism. Would it be due to the lack of our adherence, or rather submission to what Allah has given us? Yeah, that's one. The other issue would be in terms of, due to that lack of adherence, is it leading Muslims towards, call it ideologies, which are, like, let's say, number one, un-Islamic, number two, bring about more problems and confusion. What would your take be on that?
So both of the questions, I didn't understand how he linked to the story. I'm not gonna lie.
So you talk about capitalism and people. Let's say a man is doing for certain reasons.
Yeah.
A woman is connected to that capitalism, and she has
In a
certain wants and
capitalist world,
desires in the
yeah.
capitalist world. Muslims, we're living in that kind of like society
world.
and context. Now we might fall into, or some might fall into those aspects of capitalism, make mistakes. Is a reason for that due to our lack of submission to Islam and Quran and Sunnah and so on. That's the first part.
Yeah, 100%. Because capitalism per se, Islamically anyway, from my understanding, and Allah knows best, it's not an Islamic kind of legal system. Our legal system is a bit more different. You can probably put a bit of capitalism and a bit of socialism, because there is that sadaqah that we have. You got the zakah. You have
Like
things like that.
your additions to our Islamic narratives. You keep on adding certain
Mixing
stuff
it
to it.
Well, that's why you're here, bro. You're the imam, bro.
We've already cancelled you before, but we're giving you a chance this time. So be careful. Islam is Islam.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is, though,
that's the key thing.
what I'm saying to you is, there might be a misunderstanding of capitalism per se, though, because capitalism, how it's understood, it's that your wealth is your wealth. Your capital is your capital. That's how it's understood.
Yeah.
Now, from the Islamic perspective, it's also understood like that, but you also have to give zakah, is my point. This is where the socialism, so-called what socialism is, that's where it is, basically.
Yeah.
That you make a certain amount of money, but you have to distribute a certain wealth to everyone else. So what I'm saying is, there's a level of each thing is in Islam already, is my point. We shouldn't be taking capitalism nor socialism, because Islamically we already have our one, which is, yes, everyone should be able to make their own money. The capital is yours, but when you reach a certain amount, which is the nisab, you have to give a portion of that away. And that's the social aspect of Islam. That it's not about just you becoming a billionaire.
Yeah,
Whilst you're becoming a billionaire, you have to raise up everyone else with you. You understand? Whereas in the non-Muslim world and the capitalist world, Jeff Bezos, who's I think 162 billion or whatever he's got, there is no, apart from taxes, there is no law Islamically wherever it's telling him you have to pay 2.5%.
I'm smiling, so nobody's telling him concerning Amazon. Yeah.
The whole Kyrie thing.
Yeah. How comes that's not happening? So that's another
Money
kind
talks,
of like,
bro.
yeah.
Money talks.
Yeah.
You know what? I heard it was, what's his name? He said, give me the control of money, and I don't care who's in power. What does that tell you? He says, give me the control of money. And I don't care who is in power. Why? Because money talks. If I have the resources and I have the power, it doesn't matter what your laws are, because I can influence you. If I have more money than the prime minister right now, and the prime minister needs a certain information, he's going to come to me because he knows I'm a man of influence. So what I'm talking about, Kyrie, or whatever you're talking about when it comes to Amazon, is because Amazon, the owner of Amazon, is 162 billion pounds rich. You can't mess with him. Kyrie is a millionaire only. And the people he's working for are multimillionaires or billionaires. So in essence, even though to the minimal man, he looks like a rich person, to the guys he's working for, he's a worker. You step out of line, I'll put you back in line. That's what you have to understand about the difference between Amazon being not targeted and someone like Kyrie being targeted, because he's a worker. Jeff Bezos is a boss who owns a company that can he can feed how many different countries if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But I think we've moved on to a whole nother topic. But the point I was just saying with regards to that one is, I do think is a lack of our adherence as Muslims living in the West, that we take on different narratives due to our lack of understanding of our own way of life. So we've taken Islam as our name. We're Muslim. My name is Khadija. My name is Muhammad. My name is whatever. But a lot of our ideologies actually come from what we see on YouTube, what we see on the news, and what we are taught in school. And unfortunately, we are taught by non-Muslims from a very young age. We have many non-Muslim friends from a very young age. And so the environment has more influence than the deen has to many of us, unfortunately. And so, and that's why we fall into capitalism. That's why we fall into feminism.
How would you say, in terms of solutions? So as an example, let's say, education. On a Friday, most Muslims who don't normally pray, they'll come to Jumu'ah. Correct?
Jumu'ah is like a Sunday for some.
Yeah. So let's say during Jumu'ah prayer, is there education being imparted? I'm talking about fundamentals. I'm talking about principles where there will be some key principles. An average Muslim, because I'm different with you in a way that, look, they don't know. Every Muslim would know Islam is the only answer. I can't contradict Islam. I can't go against my values and principles. I might be wrong. That's the way I'm feeling. Especially if you're coming to Friday, you're going to hear certain messages to let you know this is our deen, this is Quran, this is Sunnah, and that's our, paradigm.
Are you saying that is Friday sufficient for people to come to Friday prayers to learn about their deen to be what? Enough for them to adhere to the deen?
Am I saying as a question? Maybe I'm making a statement. I'm saying
You're saying there should be.
Should be.
And I'm saying no.
Why?
Many people I know personally, even at work just now, and construction sites, many Muslims, I will go and do my daily salahs. I might be late sometimes, but I'll do my daily salahs at work. There are Muslims there working, smoking, wherever, swearing. It's a construction site. And they'll just go to a Friday prayer and that's it.
Okay.
Now, conversation-wise, they you can see they're attached to their deen in some form of way. They understand
I'm
that.
differentiating between the two. So this guy, let's say he's smoking, or let's say he or she, they're missing their salah, their prayers, but they know they shouldn't be doing it. That's a paradigm. They know this is a sin. Yeah, they know what is good and bad. They know what is halal and haram. They might fall into it, but the paradigm is kind of like fixed. What you're mentioning before in terms of capitalism, do you think where Muslims have gone wrong, what's the reason for them going wrong? Have they lost the paradigm? And if they have lost the paradigm, how comes? Because at least they're coming for the Friday prayers where they will hear that paradigm.
No, but what I'm saying is, what is the point of knowing something is wrong, yet continuously doing it?
That's a theological issue now. You know that. That's a deep issue in the sense that, okay, Muslims have been sinning from history.
Na'am, of course.
Even when, Khilafah have been established. Can't say they're non-Muslims.
No, of course
Muslims
not.
who are sinners. But my worry is where, initially we started off, maybe not just before the recording of the podcast about feminism. That's what I'm kind of like leading to. And you mentioned some points where some people are kind of like going against statements of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Why would that be the case when that's the final say? Allah and His Messenger, that's the red line.
But that's what I'm saying to you, Imam. Look at this. As individuals right now, if you're a layman, you don't know the different levels of haram. Like there is zina, there is alcohol drinking, there's shirk, there's stealing. They're all different levels, right? They're not all on the same exact and sinning level.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is, when a person is sinning regularly, they're not differentiating between the levels of what sin is better than what. There is a person who drug deals,
Yeah.
yet he doesn't drink alcohol. There's a person who's stabbings and shootings, yet he doesn't eat pork. There's a woman who's sleeping around with different men, yet she might be respectful to her mum. So what I'm trying to say to you is, the paradigm you're talking about, sinners are sinners no matter what. So when they're taking on a different reality like feminism, they're not thinking to themselves, oh, I'm outside of the fold of Islam. They're just thinking, whether it's right or wrong, this is what I believe in. So I don't think...
It's a difference still, Abdul Latif. It's a difference because, look, one is they're saying it's a sin. That's a paradigm. That still keeps a person as a Muslim. It's when we start saying, it's not a sin. It's okay. I can do it. I can be. No, you can't. You're wrong for doing something, but don't start saying it's okay to do it. There is a difference. Yeah, it might be fine, but there is that difference. The question is though, Friday prayers, Jum'ah, Imams are speaking, masjids are full, why that paradigm has been lost.
Why? Paradigm of the Islam is the truth and anything that comes to it should be shunned. Because that's what you're basically saying. If someone's a Muslim, how can you be following feministic ideas? If you're a Muslim, how can you be following capitalistic ideas? If you're a Muslim, how can you be following communism ideas? Any of these ideas are against Islam, because Islam, even though it has portions of those ideas in it, is solely Islam.
Your way of life is Islam. You might fall in certain things, but My way of life is Islam. I am a Muslim. I believe in the values of Islam, the principle of Islam, even though I may fall short on certain things.
All right, so let me ask you a question, Mr.
Yeah.
Can you be a feminist and a Muslim?
Me? You're asking me that question? To me, even when you mentioned, look, capitalism, you mentioned, what was the other one? Socialism. I think in the podcast before, what was the topic we were talking about? You mentioned about Andrew Tate, like some of the Sahaba. To me, there's a distinction between Islam and labels.
Islam
We're Muslim.
and labels.
We're Muslim. Sahaba are Sahaba. Islam is Islam. Yeah. It has its own principles and values, which are special, unique, and from Allah Ta'ala. Yeah. So I would say, look, you should be Muslim and not feminist. Be a Muslim. Whatever that guidance gives you from Quran and Sunnah, take it. So I would like to say, look, don't go to any labels. Stick to what Allah has given you.
So basically, the answer is no, but I thank you for your answer anyway. I know it's political, and you have to be political. But I get what you're trying to say. Well, it's true, and I agree with you. I think if you're a Muslim, and I said it in my last one, fistilmi kafa. Allah says, go into Islam totally. There is no 1 foot out, 1 foot in, 1 foot in. We ain't doing that hokey pokey around here. You understand? So if you're a Muslim, stick to what Islam is. It doesn't mean now you can't understand some of the, what's the word for it now? Some of the pains of feminism. What the reasons feminism started. Because a lot of people don't understand that the Western issues and so-called Muslim issues are not the same. We haven't gone through what the Christians went through in the Western world. We didn't go through I think, was it in the 20s or 10s that France allowed and said that women has a brain now, or she can make her own decisions. Prior to that, they thought that she was possessed by whoever she was possessed by.
There was a discussion whether they had a soul.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
that was around 1911 or something like this.
I think 17th, 18th century, and also they had this where the sin of Adam alayhi salam. We say, look, both sinned, yeah, and both transgressed. The Quran kind of like.
So they believe that Hawa or Eve made Adam sin, and so since she's the sinner, then she's the evil person.
Yeah. But saying that, I mean, look, you mentioned about non-Muslim society. Again, I think I differ with you. There's been a lot of cases. I look across the Muslim world as well. Sometimes, Muslim women are not getting their Islamic rights and not being treated by, let's say, men in society the way they should be treated. So sometimes even Muslim women are pushed towards that. Islam needs to be observed. There needs to be a proper balance of Islam. Proper revelation needs to be observed. And that way, look, everybody gets there, are happy and get their rights.
No, but what I'm saying is, there's a difference between once upon a time, historically anyway, what is known in the Muslim world is that Muslim women was never oppressed as their second class, as they don't have a freedom to choose, as they can choose their husband 100%. And they can divorce. They can buy land. These were all rules done at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. We didn't. So I'm saying historically, we don't have the same history.
Yeah.
So you can't bring feminism to us and be like, oh, we're gonna give you lot freedom now. We don't need your freedom. We already had freedom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say to you, Imam? Yes. Are there some Muslim countries that say they're Muslim and don't follow Islam properly, and so there's mistakes made? Of course there is. But the Quran itself, the hadiths themselves, do they promote misogyny? Do they promote the man is better than the woman is less than the man? It doesn't promote that. Everyone has their places in Islam. And if the ruler doesn't follow that, it doesn't mean Islam is deficient. It means that ruler is deficient. Whereas in the Western world, in their own books, whether it's the Bible, whether it's whatever laws they follow, they believe the woman was less than. And so feminism came about to go against that. And then obviously you had first wave, second wave, and then third wave, which is where we are at today, where a woman thinks she can be a man thinks she can be a woman. But that's what I'm saying to the Muslim people of today, is that we shouldn't be following feminism, because feminism has a reason to arise. Yes, align with why it started and the issues for it, but don't follow it thinking it's going to help you. You understand?
100%.
That's all I'm trying to say with the whole, feminism issues and all that kind of topic, basically. Yeah.
Very passionate.
Was I passionate? Shooting bullets.
Shooting bullets.
That's good, man.
Yeah. But yeah, following on, if you want to follow on from that. So you're saying feminism and Islam can't coincide in essence, basically. That Islam is Islam.
Islam is Islam.
And feminism is feminism because it's an ideology, right?
Leave the labels out. Our deen is deen. It's unique. It's special. It's from Allah Ta'ala. Don't bring it to man-made, human-made ideologies. Just one is perfection. One is kind of going to have flaws and so on.
So what do you say to the sisters then that align? They might not say it out loud, but they align. I don't want to even say sisters only, to be fair. There's men out here, bro. There's men out here who align with feminism as well. So what do you say to people who align with feminism? And when I say feminism, just to make it clear, we're talking about the first wave, second wave, third wave. So you're all on a man becoming a woman. You're all on a woman becoming a man. The whole liberal idea is you can do whatever you like to do as long as you're not harming anyone. That's the logic. If you listen to most people when you debate with them about, why can't a woman become a man? They say, why is it harming you? Why can't a woman become a man? Why can't two people just do whatever they want to do in their room? That's the logic. And in plain sight, it sounds very beautiful. So my argument to you would be, then what do you say to Muslims who align with feminism? They're Muslim, they wear their hijab, they probably pray, they do all of that, but then they'll have arguments like, I don't know, man and women are equal. There is no differentiation. If a man works, a woman should work 50-50. What are you saying to that, Imam? You're on the 50-50.
I thought you already implemented that one. Secret information.
I'm fighting
here,
with
right?
the wife against it. I'm fighting with the wife, man.
Yeah, look, Akhi, you said it in the verse, the podcast before. Surah Al-Baqarah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kaffa. Or you who believe, enter into Islam completely. Yeah, what did Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah said? Look, taking all of Islam, its rules and regulations, ahkam, taking all of them and submitting to it completely. Akhi, that's deen. It's not a wishy-washy, I'll accept some, what suits me, and I'll reject some that don't suit me. No. Allah Ta'ala, when He speaks about the Messenger of Allah, what does Allah He say? فَلَوَ رَبِّكَ, by your Lord you will not truly believe until they make you the judge in all the affairs. And then they have no ill feeling and rancor concerning your judgment. Meaning, not only are you going to accept it unwillingly,
There shouldn't be no ill feelings towards that.
You're happy. That's deen. This is coming from Allah. It's gonna be good for me. So, akhi, that's
So what are you gonna say to the sisters when the Quran says, you know what, you should stay at home, and they say, nah, man, we don't want to stay at home. We want to go out.
You answer that question. Huh?
Well, look, we know at the time of the Prophet ﷺ that the women went out and they done what they needed to do and went home. But Allah saying in the Quran that the home is better for you, lest that you should what? Be harassed by men or whatever.
Is that like ayah? Because some of the issues are deep. Yeah, and one thing we wanted to go on to, I don't know if you get a chance, sometimes social media influencers, people are taking their deen from them. Yeah, and then we arise into problems. So these are sometimes deep issues. Is that verse referring to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ? Question, I'm not answering it. I'm just saying, what's the purpose behind the legislation of hijab if women were just supposed to stay at home? Sahabiyat, did they have any interaction outside their home? Meaning these are deep issues. So sometimes I'm not saying that they can be answered here. Yeah, but there was a function of women outside their home in the time of the Prophet ﷺ.
Because some would argue, and I've been in these debates, that Khadija, mashallah, she was a businesswoman and the Prophet ﷺ was working for her. And men today are saying, well, the man is qawwamuna ala nisa. So what do you say now? Well, the Prophet ﷺ was working literally for a woman, that's his wife, outside of the home, and she was the boss.
Was he working, or was it kind of like a partnership? You have this Islamic kind of like concept of someone provides the wealth, the other person, it's like a Islamic kind of like finance kind of like contract, does the effort and work. Was
that before?
It started off before, isn't it? And then later on they kind of like married and so on. So it's a different kind of like concept. But look, one thing is, let's not take theory away from let's not just look at theory rather than reality. And reality also has to function with Islamic guidelines. So sometimes you don't want to create kind of like scenarios which they're unrealistic. Some women have to work now because there is no man to work for them. Yeah, they're single parent mothers and so on. They've got kids they need to provide. There's a recession coming and so on. So those are deep issues that which, you know what, best to leave until another day.
I'll just say finally, because some might think that I'm antagonizing the woman. So I need to make my record clear. Yeah, I have a wife. I have a mum. I have kids that are two of them that are girls. All I'm saying though is there is a massive issue when it comes to not only feminist sides, and I do also believe there's also now masculine arguments now being made to counter this whole feminism issue.
Okay.
Hence why you have the Kevin Samuels, you have the so-called Andrew Tates, and you have all these other so-called manosphere men now coming up with things that Islamically are also incorrect. Have many women, you know, only go for a woman that's 22 years old or 23 years old that hasn't been with many men.
Okay.
If a woman is being divorced, don't ever look at that woman again. These are all totally against the way of the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ himself married at 25 to a woman that was 15 years older than him, I believe. Right or wrong? And then again, when he married, apart from Aisha, if you want to talk about it, the rest of his wives were all older than him. They was all divorced, some of them. Some of them was widows with kids. So he's doing the total opposite of what so-called this whole manosphere today that many so-called Muslim men are falling into. So when I talk about the feminist issues, I'm only talking about it because I fear it's worsening the sisters' world, and in return is making the men be reactionary. And so hence why now what do you have? The highest rates of Muslim divorces. One of the ideas that I even said to you was what? We need to start tallying up in most mosques what the divorce rates are so we can actually look at numbers and see what the reasons for these divorces are. Because you find most of them, I can guarantee you, and we speak to brothers all the time, as you know, is mainly, it's not even theological issues. It's really minute issues. Who's making the money?
Yeah.
Can I go to this country or can I go to that? Oh, hijab, can I wear it? Oh, as a man, how many times should you be going out? Second wife or third wife, or how he done it or how he didn't do it wrong, or it's little issues that could have been solved had your ideologies both been on the same wave.
So it might even be theological, like you're saying. It might not be, might well be.
Might be theological, you're saying.
Meaning, you know, it's like
If you're not, yeah, okay.
what's your paradigm? So he's gone, you know, she's on a feminist thing, he's on something else. Okay, of course, you're not coming from the perspective of what Deen is telling you. If you're coming from that perspective, look, how many brothers you know, men, they're not providing. You want the woman to kind of fix up and say this, but the man, you know what? He's not fulfilling his responsibility from Deen. Of course, there's going to be imbalance. So I think both sides, that submission to Islam, that knowledge of Islam, that paradigm, that this is what we got to be following and observing, then we can come towards maybe solutions.
So you're basically saying that both people have like a bone to pick. The man has his bone to pick with a woman that she's slacking and she's not cooking and she's not being at home regularly, she's not wearing a hijab, she might not be on Deen, whatever. And the woman, their argument is, you're not really a man. You're not really providing.
You might not be saying it, but you know what? Some would say it, but you're putting that into action. The way you're going to be reacting to him is like he's not really a man. The way he's going to be reacting to her, you're not really like a woman. And keep in mind, in our traditional, men and women, like you said, it wasn't an issue. Everybody knows you complement one another. Yeah, black and white, it's not an issue in our history, especially from the time of the Prophet. And why? Akhi, that's it. We're from Allah Ta'ala. Rich and poor, there's not really an issue. Young and old, everyone complements one another because the paradigm and the guidance is there. Once the paradigm is lost, then we start getting into these, you know, polarizing one another.
Do you think there's a difference between the Western world where we live in, practicing Islam, and say practicing Islam in, I don't know, let's say Kenya, because that's your history.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Social media, gone, taken control. Yeah. Go to a village in Kenya. Village, the house might be a mud hut still, but they got a smartphone.
The ideas are there, is what you're saying.
That's being pushed. Yeah, that's where the agendas are being, pushed.
So I would have argued prior. I haven't been obviously around the world to say it's fully changed. I would have argued from being raised back home, say 20 years ago, that
Big difference, Akhi. Remember what was there then 20 years ago? What kind of like social media was there 20 years ago?
in 20 years, the change is just massive.
Akhi, 5, 10, 5 every few years. How long's TikTok been there now?
3 years.
The impact of TikTok. Yeah. Remember, you're giving it to every person can have a tool of putting out something. Young and old, healthy and unhealthy. That's it. Messing up the world completely.
Yeah, there's something to look into. I would have personally argued in the places where, let's just say that isn't there then,
Yeah.
the places that TikTok and whatever isn't there, I would say the traditional roles are still there.
Tell me where, Akhi. Tell me where.
That doesn't have it?
You're looking at Amazon, maybe some lost tribe that nobody's found. You might, Akhi, that's it. Reality. Reality.
I think there's traditional roles in many countries, Imam. We might have to start traveling and do a vlogging around the world still. I think that's the next that's the next
bridge,
move still.
The bridge, yeah.
Yeah, the bridge doing
He
vlogging.
wants a free holiday. That's what he wants.
I think we might have to do vlogging and go around the world. But I would probably argue that outside of the Western world and even probably a lot of so-called upcoming first world countries, Saudi Arabia and some of the Qatars, whatever these kind of areas, that even out of them, and even them, I would still say there is a level of traditionalism still there. Not to the extent of the Western world, Imam.
Why? Because Deen.
Islam is there. I hear
Yeah, so that kind of like withholds you going too far. But it's a battle. Yeah. But you're saying those kind of like developing countries, you know, first world countries.
Yeah, I think the first world countries definitely, and even if you take Islam out of them, like I was just taking Kenya for example, I'm sure even if you was to go into those madhas or whatever, there are traditional roles that are still respected and appreciated. A man goes out to work every day. When he comes back, he expects a certain thing. A woman works at home or whatever she does. When she sees her man, she expects a certain thing. If someone knocks down the house, the woman expects the man to protect them. If the kids are crying or hungry, the man expects the woman to cook. There are basic traditional arguments there that, not arguments, but traditional expectations that are respected and valued. In the Western world, and one thing I'll give certain person that I agree with, that Samuel, what's his name? Kevin Samuel, sorry.
He passed away.
He passed away, man. Yeah, he passed away. One of the things I personally agreed with him, and there was a couple, but one of the main things I agreed with him is that he said feminism is a first world issue. Sorry, like what? In the first world, as in sorry.
Like a European Western.
Yeah, it's their issue really. Why? Because we've already built you roads. We've already built you police stations. We've already got you an army. You've already got houses. You've already got electricity. You've already got water. You've already got everything. What is there to argue about now?
Yeah.
Now you can talk about, oh, my toenails are a bit too long and I want to cut it down shorter. Do you know what I'm trying to say to you, man? Because you've already got everything. But in a country where there is no hot water, there is no electrics, we have to walk 5 miles to get a bit of water. There are still hyenas and lions still walking around our houses. There are all these issues. The man is necessary. You know what? Furthermore, Ukraine. The other day, when they took over in Khorasan or whatever it was, this I don't know the area.
Yeah, there's a recent.
You see all the women and even some men that didn't fight probably run into the one army guy. It's on the news, man. All hugging him, kissing him. Why? Why is he now the most important person? Because that man just took his own life to put you lot into safety. Go back 5 years ago, or even, 1 year ago before that war happened, the men were not being respected like that. Man and woman are the same. But as soon as the man is needed again, now you're back in your hierarchy. Because why? We know what you're for. You're that man. Now you have a man that looks like a woman woman looks like a man. There is no respect in man. You understand me? So what I'm saying is, the one thing I agreed with Samuel is that he said, it's what? It's a European and Western issue what we're having today, where the women don't respect the man, and the man doesn't really understand what it is to be a man, so the woman doesn't value him anyway.
I would agree, Akhi, to a certain extent. I would agree. You know, it is different. But because of the age of social media, it is having an impact. So let's say things that were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, very different. So some of those problems that you're mentioning, which are in kind of like Western European countries or first world countries, as you said, they have started to kind of like happen, same problems
Third world countries now.
in those countries.
Yeah, but the problem with the third world countries is going to have is this. Say they are watching TikTok, say they are watching whatever, and they're living in their huts, yeah?
Yeah,
You can't tell a man that you're living in a mud hut too.
yeah.
Oh, when you get home, cook. That ain't gonna work, woman, because I have to walk 5 hours every day to go and get work. That ain't gonna work with us. I don't have a car.
You've got a tool now to also make your money. You've got that phone.
How's they gonna make that from mud huts, man? There's no Amazon delivery to the Kenyans.
Not that. People making videos. People getting views.
So the woman's gonna say, basically, I don't need you. I'm gonna make videos.
No, it's not going to be like straight away like this. But as it develops, people start seeing, you know what? I've got another income stream that I can make, and I don't have to rely on this man no more. Not only that, remember, this is ideological. So it's not even just about finance and money.
This is what I was about to ask you. It's not really about finance. The liberal world has argued that it's just like a money issue.
No, it's not. It's not that.
Because like I just showed you the Ukraine thing, is that a money issue? No, it's a physicality issue.
What are you seeing on YouTube? What are you seeing on social media? What kind of videos are you watching? What kind of lectures are you watching? Yeah. Remember, the positive side might be very little. What else is out there that's influencing people in those developing countries? That ideologically has a bigger impact than just kind of like, the financial side.
You can keep going in, but
Yeah.
we definitely need to come up with ideas and solutions.
Solutions, akhi. This is what it is.
And solution part one would be what you would argue is what? I know Islam is going to be the first one, but even in Islam, okay, what can we take in Islam that are solutions then? Because it's easy for us to just say, well, the solution is Islam. Okay, what is it in Islam that's going to counteract feminism? Like, is there an example that we can use?
It's like what we had our discussion on brothers or viewers sometimes being negative about us in terms of inviting brothers who are rappers and artists and so on. Yeah, meaning we're looking at a solution, and that should be the first thing. Let's start thinking of solutions where we're countering some of the negative information, ideologies that are being put to the masses. I'm not even talking about Muslims only. Remember, there's a breakdown in families worldwide, Muslim and non-Muslim. The impact of the breakdown of families on kids, Muslim or non-Muslim. What does that lead to? All of those are factors that we need to kind of consider and say, look, okay, what are the solutions? From finding solutions, a key thing would be education. Through education, through engagement, you're kind of like letting people know what is the right, I don't want to call it ideology. Islam is not like
it's a way of life, isn't it?
Yeah. But finding that and saying, look, this is, and I believe sincerely, any non-Muslim that comes to the masjid, interested in Islam, what do I say? Look, Islam is a solution. You want a happy married life? Islam is a solution. But you got to observe it. Your kids need to observe it. Society needs to observe it. You mentioned capitalism, socialism. Look, riba. It's destroying families, destroying countries, destroying, humanity. We need to we need to kind of like avoid that. We've got our own financial system that needs to be observed, which has sadaqah, which has zakah, which has kind of like tijara, trade, but with ethics and guidance and values and principles. So there's a lot of things about solutions. We need to start looking into that.
So I don't want to keep pressing you on it, but let's go through. Is there one or two examples at the time of the Prophet ﷺ that we can point to and say, well, this is how they done it, that can counteract? An example that I can probably think of, and with regards to maybe even feminism, might be, I'm trying to think of one, because we're trying to think of solutions.
Yeah.
So what I don't want to just say is, because someone might watch this and say, well, you've just basically said, let's go for solutions, but we haven't come up with an actual solution.
Look, I've got one, which might seem, which might not be what you're looking for. And it's disconnected. Well, it's connected to wealth and finance, but at the same time disconnected. The Messenger of Allah was shunned from the people of Quraysh for being a Muslim. Not only was he shunned, but his close family relatives, like his sub-clans, Banu Hashim, Banu Abdul Muttalib, were shunned and put on the outskirts of Mecca. Nobody could trade with them. Nobody could buy or sell from them. They are just left in kind of like poverty. What made them stick to the Islamic principles? Iman. That's the first thing. Iman. If you have faith, then you know what? Whether finance is there or not there, whether the husband is poor or the wife is poor or everybody's poor, my faith and Iman should guide me to my values of being a woman, or being a man, or being a father, or being a mother, or being a son or a daughter, and so on. So to me, that would be
Oh, well then, first thing.
first and first.
Is your
foremost,
iman, your,
akhi.
what
That's
should translate iman would be your spiritual awareness, consciousness of God, basically.
faith, belief, yeah, and so on.
That has to be high, basically, for you to.
Has to be high and has to be understood. Islam is my paradigm. I submit to revelation, Allah, and the revelation that Allah has given me. Full stop. That's a starting point.
Yeah, that's a starting point. I think another one, that story just came to my head about, with regards to like feminism, because remember the whole point of feminism is what? That we feel that the men are the patriarchs of the world, and by being a patriarch, you basically oppress women, right?
Yeah.
That's the argument. So a story that would come to my mind would be at the time of the Prophet, the woman that came to the Prophet ﷺ, and she said, look, my man doesn't fulfill me in the bed, basically. And he gave her the right to what? To divorce. On that basis.
You sure about this, yeah?
I'm just, I'm speaking. You're the one who should say Abdul Latif wrong.
I don't know.
Your silence is agreement, Imam.
Listen, there's no agreement on the silence, yeah? Just don't be making up a hadith, yeah?
You're talking about Surah Al-Mujadala, yeah? I think he's talking about Surah Al-Mujadala.
No, but that one is a bit. The Mujadala
I
is
think
more
the one
of
you're talking
argument.
I think the one you're talking about where she
That
said,
was an
look,
argument. When that
He said that is-
Watash.
You remind me of my mother, basically. That one. Is that?
No, that one is when the Prophet, when Allah says in the Quran that she complained to Allah about her husband, basically. But I'm talking about there's a
yeah,
story.
but I don't think it's to do with the like bed. I think she just said that, look, I have no problem concerning his deen. I just don't like him.
Wasn't that attraction?
It was attraction. This is
That was
attraction.
attraction.
Was it attraction or fulfillment in bed?
No, it was attraction.
No, what books you be reading?
Listen, brothers and sisters, we're not going to cancel this, yeah? There's too many chances we're giving
Oh,
this
I'm gonna
brother.
bring that one. I'm sure I read it was
We're cancelling Abdul Latif.
fulfillment.
No, it was attraction.
It's attraction. It's attraction. It's attraction.
Okay, khair. Let's just stick even my premise will still be the same anyway. Let's
The
just
only
say
thing with the hadith as a side point, with the hadith, it's kind of like what do you call it? Dangerous to attribute something to the Prophet ﷺ that he never said.
or Kamakala we say, innit? You might have said that, bro. You might have said that, bro. No, but point is,
Okay.
at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the woman's coming to him,
Yeah.
and let's say she's asking about the man she's married to, and she's not attracted to him.
Yeah.
He's allowing her to what? Divorce and leave that situation.
Yeah.
So we're in
She's getting her rights, basically.
She's getting her rights is my point here.
Yeah.
Because the argument of the feminist is because the man is in the stronghold and he controls everything and he makes all the laws.
Yeah.
We have nothing. We can't buy houses. We can't divorce unless we say he's beat us up or he's what's it called, cheated. You know, they had those rules for you to get divorced. You have to kind of prove all of these things. So you had many women in marriages where they couldn't really leave because you have to fulfill all of these things for you to leave. You couldn't just say, I don't like the man no more.
Yeah.
Whereas Islamically, you can go to whoever the imam, the scholar is, and say, look, I just don't like the man no more.
Okay, there's some religions up to now you can't divorce.
Or Hindus, is it Hindus? I don't want to make
Used to
another
be, I think.
Kamakala Rasulullah kind of thing, but Hindus, I'm sure if the man dies, the woman has to die.
Supposed to be, I think traditionally they're supposed to like she cremates or she can't like
She has to
burnt
get
at
burnt
the time. Yeah, something like that.
Madness.
Yeah. But look, that's just what you cited is one example. There's so many examples. They were burying their daughters alive. Yeah. Prophet straight away. The Messenger of Allah, sallallahu rights of inheritance, owning properties, all that was there. So many examples you gave. Yeah, the principle here that also is, while everybody has their rights from Allah Ta'ala, the same time, وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرَ كَالْأُنثَى. The male and the female are still not alike. Everybody has their roles and responsibilities.
So we kind of went through solutions quickly, couple of solutions.
Any other solutions that you can think of?
Any other solutions that I can think of? Top of my mind. You'd have to think of what the issues are.
The issues we've been discussing.
Yeah, so it would be man, control, finances. So maybe finances.
I was going to mention that.
finances. So we know
the Messenger of Allah established anything financial in Medina to give Medina and the Muslim community financial stability. Should the Muslims also be looking at that? Where they're giving, men, especially men, responsibility of work so they can look after their family and so on.
well, of course, even in the Quran though, the Quran puts the man in the position to have to do that. So could you even argue that if a man doesn't actually go to work, hey, I'm gonna put some home workers in problems now. Would it be argued if a man says, I'm a home daddy? Because there's sad to say, but there is some now arguments, Imam. I'm telling you, we're in the social media world. There's some baby daddies at home, whilst the woman actually goes out to work. So from our culture is different. Our way of life is different. Islamically, could you say a man can stay at home, look after the kids, whilst the woman goes to work?
What's the ayah in the Quran?
No.
بِمَا أَنفَقُوا. الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. Allah has given that authority of men. But one of the things, the reason is they spend on them. So that responsibility of providing is upon the shoulder of the man, akhi.
But this is what I'm saying to you, Imam. Some feministic arguments are going to come to you. They're going to say, Imam, the argument there though is, Bima anfaqu is the one because he spends, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the woman, I'm spending on the man.
But Allah didn't say that though. Allah's talking about men. So here is
You
a
can't
man
switch that
needs to be-
around now.
No, why not? Why are you going to switch Allah's words? That's how a man is supposed to be. And what a man is supposed to do. And he needs to understand the responsibility. Saying that, look, you're trying to maybe, okay, I'm not saying you are, but it might seem that way. You're kind of like trying to put the blame on the women. But look
No,
at
no,
the
not
man here.
necessarily.
If the man's taking that and not fulfilling his responsibility, especially as a Muslim man, the blame's on him also.
So when she says to him, I want to go and work, and he and he says, well, all right, well, I'm going to concede and stay at home. You're saying it's the man that should have
Not
put
in
that
way,
fit down and
of
said, yo,
course.
it ain't happening.
Say, look, no, that's my responsibility. I'll do and provide that. But some men would say, look, they're cool with it.
What do you say to these type of men?
That's with you in a hoodie.
Hey, Imam keeps it very cool, I can see you as a president, Imam. I can neither confirm nor deny. Take no sides. No, but I agree with you, Imam. It is, and I fully agree that men have allowed this debate to go on for so long. Seriously, like a lot of people think, and I'm saying a lot of people, man and women that are feministic, they actually think that these so-called laws that have just come about is through their doing. But who's giving them this freedom? It's another man. Think about it logically now. You're asking for a law. The person you're saying is bad is the same person giving you the laws. Are you seeing the logic, Imam? Now, I'm not agreeing with this. I'm just saying to you, this is the logic in the feministic world. You're saying this patriarch man is bad. I want my rights. You keep fighting for these rights, and then he gives you those rights. He could easily do what many other countries wish to do and say, we just put you to bed and kill all of you that or put you in prison. But he's conceding and he's giving you your so-called rights. And now men have allowed those rights to go so far. And I'm saying men because it's men that really around the world run all countries, have allowed these arguments to go so far that now you can have kids at the age of 5, 6 saying that they might feel like a man or a woman and now cutting out their private parts or whatever and doing something that you can't reverse, Imam. Like you can't actually reverse these issues. And I take it, no, I know you're trying to smile, but I take that very, like similar to what Jordan Peterson said.
Yeah.
And he said something on Twitter. There's this actor lady. I forgot her name. Something Elliot. We'd have to try to find it. Something Elliot anyway. He put up a tweet about her. Basically, because she cut off her breast. It's a woman. She actually cut off her breast.
It's to do with cancer or something?
No cancer, bro. You're so nice, mashallah. So nice, Imam. He's so nice, ain't he? No, Imam. She didn't just cut off her breast for cancer, Imam. She cut off her breast because she wants to be a man. So I think her name had like a woman name and she changed it slightly to look like a man's name. And then he said, this is like, I don't want to misquote him, so it would be good to try to find it. But to the extent that basically this is a very bad thing to do. And I think he got taken off Twitter because of that. Because he's saying what she's doing is wrong and is promoting, and what's the word for it when you're kind of like cutting yourself up, like you're mutilating. That's what I think he used. He's like, this is what you're promoting, and that's what it is. So I'm saying the men have allowed this to go to such an extent that now you can do whatever you like, and it looks rational. So yes, I agree with you that point where you just said that the men is the man. When the woman says this, that, and Islamically, Allah has put the burden on you as a man to go and provide. That when a woman comes to you and says to you, well, I want to go and provide, it's upon you to stand your ground and stick to what the deen tells you to. That's not in a bullying way. That's not in a rude way. It's in a way to show her clear cut, this is my way, and that's the other way. Take whatever path.
It's good you mentioned that. Now look at this scenario, especially the context we're in. There's going to be women who are fathers died, husbands died, or divorced, ex-husbands moved on. It's a single parent with kids. So also what we are mentioning as solutions, it's a deep, serious issue. Finding solutions which are going to be realistic. Ideally, what it should be, okay, you know what? Husband's passed away, she's a widow. Somebody from the family who's a male will be looking after. Is that happening? Is that going to happen? So there's a lot of real issues that need to be taken into consideration. Sometimes it might well be, we're talking about a situation of kind of like a couple, but remember there's a lot of women who are single parents. Now, in terms of them going out for work and providing for themselves and their kids, that's a separate issue.
Of course.
But, you know, that needs to be kind of like
But that's understandable.
We might be simplifying it too much, my worry is. But it's not that straightforward and simple. Idealistic way, husband, wife, fine, husband needs to be providing and working and so on. Understandable. Not every situation is like this. Again, so situations which are not idealistic, what's the solution that we will provide? That needs to be looked into.
Yeah, I think we can go on for hours with this topic, and maybe it's a topic that we can come back to in the future. If there's any questions or ideas or thoughts, put it down in the comment section. We'll try to get to these subjects. As for now, Jazakumullah khair for watching, and inshallah we'll catch you on the next one. Wassalamu alaikum.